I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
Madison, Solid Rock 94.1 JJO and JJO Discover New Music. Our guest this week is the legendary Jerry Cantrell, talking to us about the new release, I Want Blood. Jerry.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Nothing much. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right.
Good. Well, hey, I am super excited to chat with you. Before we start, though, on Discover New Music, I have to say this is very serendipitous, if you will, because I saw you this week already. And it wasn't like I was peeping in at you, but Jerry Maguire was on TV, and it just so happened to be at the copy mat scene where you told Tom Cruise to hang his balls out there. And then I knew I was talking to you later, and I thought this is it's meant to be, Jerry. It's meant to be.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. I'm so grateful to Cameron to put me in that scene. I got
so
this
nice
scene for you, man. I just want to see you in Dockers and a tie, man, with Tom Cruise, man. Okay,
we're
all right,
so well.
man, let's go.
You know, and I don't. I'm sure you know this, but you've been dubbed. It was like the Jesus of copy mat is kind of, I think, what people call that. Which I mean, it's very fitting. It is very fitting.
Yeah. Yeah, I fit right in there. I even got the same initials.
I love it. Well, let's move on from your astonishing acting career there with Tom, showing Tom Cruise a thing or two. All right, showing that guy a thing or two. Let's talk about another amazing career, one that is still going strong all these years later, and that is the musical career of Jerry Cantrell and solo music. Obviously, everyone knows you from Alice in Chains. If they don't at this point, I really can't help them with that. But you're on your fourth solo album, I Want Blood. It dropped late of 2024, October, I believe. And I asked this question to any artist, band that has had multiple records, because each album brings its own little idiosyncrasies, right? But for an artist on your level, I think it's even more intriguing, to me anyways, because, I mean, you've seen it all, you've played it all. It's another day at the studio. But I want to know what stood out in making I Want Blood compared to previous works.
Well, the group of people I was working with, you know, every time you're making a record, it's a real small handful of people, and everybody is required to make that record what it is. And so, working with a group of people that I did, all the great musicians and Joe Barisi, Tyler Bates, and Maxwell Urosky on the production side, it's a familiar process, so you know what you're doing. You've done records before, so that's all new. But I think the best analogy to use is it's a different kid. It doesn't matter how many kids you got, it's going to be a different kid, and it's going to have a different personality, and you can see the lineage that it's related. You know what I mean? So it's familiar, but it's completely different. So it's always exciting to see what is going to happen when this thing comes out of the womb and leaves the nest and starts flying on its own. So I think it's a pretty ferocious record. It's pretty intense. I never try to force a record. I just get into motion and just start working. And at some point early in the process, the material, or I don't know, maybe a couple of signposts will pop up and like, hey, let's go this way. I want to go this way. Okay, all right, that sounds cool with me. I'll follow you. And I've been doing that, using that same approach my whole career, and I've found that if you follow the music, it'll take you where it wants to go, and that's always exciting because I don't know where that's going to be.
Right.
And I know I'm going to be standing on some ground that I haven't stood on before. But I'm also going to be there, so that ought to be familiar enough for me and everybody else, and that's really exciting. It's also the commitment. The commitment that it takes for that group of people to go through that process and come out the other side. That sense of achievement, I think, is something that it's shared just by that group. Nobody else, and so it's a really special thing.
And I think it's so cool, and for any young artist listening out there, hearing you Jerry Cantrell talk about that excitement in there, and and seeing what's happening and letting the music kind of flow and finding that groove. You haven't lost it even after all this time. It doesn't sound like it was a chore, especially with this solo project. And I think that's a good lesson for a lot of young artists out there that, like, hey, there's still so much that can be done and learned and put together.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You mentioned a couple people, and that actually kind of leads me into two questions that I have about the laundry list of talent you have on this. But you mentioned Joe Barresi, your producer on this one. He's worked with Avenged Sevenfold, Melvins, Tool. I mean, the guy's got just a massive resume. But you've also worked with him before, not only as a solo artist, but also AIC. Why is it so important, that relationship with him and getting that sound on that production side of things?
Well, if you look at our career in Alice, and also my work outside of the band, we like to stick with people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We like to develop a relationship with people. So we like to make a couple of records with somebody. We made a few with Jordan. We made a few with Toby Wright. We made a few with Nick Raskulinich, and we've made a handful with Barresi here. We like sticking with somewhere when we find a good place, a good partnership that we like, a person that we like working with. And Joe and Alice, and Joe and myself, we share a kinship for sure, and we're just trying to make good rock and roll. And the shorthand is already there. There's no getting to know you, so it's nice to have that comfort factor,
Right.
And also work with people, work with somebody in Joe's case who's made so many great records for so many great bands. It's like, you want to make music with folks like that, the people that are at the top of their game.
Yeah. Well, obviously it comes through on this new record. Again, if you're just joining us, I Want Blood, the 4 solo project from Jerry Cantrell. And now that we got Joe out there, obviously on the production side of things, you had some heavy hitters on this album, as you did on previous solo albums. But you had Robert Trujillo, Duff McKagan. Those names obviously ring bells to everyone because they're huge artists, and so many more. You get the pick of the litter. If Jerry Cantrell calls, everyone's going to say, yes, Jerry, I will be there. So how did you go about getting this massive group of talented people together and setting that team?
Well, again, I would say the same thing. If you look at the people that I made this record with, I've worked with them multiple times, either on their records or on mine. So, you call up your bros, Alice in Chains was and is, a group of friends, first and foremost. So, we're a bunch of buddies, you know what I mean, before we're even like a band or musicians together. So you call up your bros, and if I'm making a record outside of, my normal comfortable group of guys, I gotta call the next circle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And luckily I know a bunch of them, and also just, I'm really lucky that, these guys all have pretty demanding and amazing bands and schedules. And so when I've made these records, I've just been, it's lucky that it's lined up in windows where they've had some time off, and then we're willing to come down and make some racket with me,
Right.
But it's the same thing though, Duff and I we've worked on 4 or 5 records together, a couple of his, a couple of mine. Trujillo and Borden, we've done a couple together, and also worked with Ozzy together as well. Greg Pachado, it's our second record together. Gil Sharon, our second record together. So you stick with your people,
I love it. Well, I will tell you, your bros are way more talented than my bros. All right, I don't know if you know that or not, but yeah, I feel very honored and very lucky to be able to play with the level of musicians that I've been able to play with over my career. Yeah. And again, you've made so much legendary music and collaborations on both ends, people helping you helping people. And it's exciting to see, especially with this latest album. And correct me if I'm wrong, because again, the internet can be a tricky place, but I saw a quote with this album, you kind of being at the top of your capacity as far as writing is concerned. And that intrigues me because how does one like Jerry Cantrell and the level you're at find that? What does that mean for you when you say you're at the top of your capacity with this record?
I was just talking with Lou Brutus earlier, and he hit me with a David Bowie quote. Like, if you don't feel like you're in water that's like a little over your head, you're not in the right place to be creating new music. You know, you want to feel like you're gonna drown. like I don't know if I don't know if I can make this. You know what I mean? You want to be reaching. You know, what's the old line? You want your reach to you know. You want to be reaching for something that maybe exceeds your grasp.
Right,
you know what I mean? So, and occasionally you get there, and that's always a surprising thing. But you never would have got there if you didn't try and you didn't push yourself. So, you know, I think vocally, especially, I really challenged myself. I found I kind of dove in and felt I needed a little more information and a little bit more help vocally. So I started working with this great vocal teacher, Julie Gregory, and she's kind of retooled my game as a singer. You know, it's a different animal if you're just singing a couple of songs now and again and singing backups to actually having to lead a whole show or lead a whole record. So, you know, you gotta step up. So I put the work in, you know, to get better at that. And as a guitar player, producer, and a writer, you know, I felt this body of work is extremely challenging. We just wrapped 4 days of rehearsal, and I'm like, Jesus, you know, like, okay, I got to figure out how to do my breath on this, and playing this part over this vocal is totally. I still don't have it knocked, you know, but that's a good place to be. You want to be reaching for something that you might not get to, and more often than not, just by going through the process and dedicating yourself to doing the work, you get there, and that creates some pretty exciting moments in music. You know, if you're operating in that capacity. So
yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up, you know, challenge yourself vocally, because I it's weird me saying this because I don't want to give you a complex at this point in your career, Jerry, but as a guy who, you know, when you got in early with Alice in Chains and, you know, you and Lane, and then you guys kind of starting to slowly split and like, okay, he's going to sing this, and Lane was always really encouraging you to do that, but as the guitar, okay, well, I'll let you do the singing. And now with William, obviously the talent there. Do you sometimes when we get imposter syndrome on these solo albums, like, man, what am I doing taking the lead on this? Like, I don't mind, like you said, singing a couple. Is that ever kind of get in your head, or no, not at this point?
It hasn't so far on my own records, because it's a different animal, and it's a challenge I've set for myself. So that's what's always fun to play with. You know, the blueprint within my own band is, you know, it's not completely set in stone, and that's the cool thing about our band, that I always liked, and I think Lane and Sean and Mike and William and Mike, you know, we all like that we don't know what we're doing all the time, and we're making it up, and who's going to sing what, and like, you know, the cool thing is we have a band, and I've always admired bands like this that have more than one strong voice. You know what I mean? More than one lead singer, and then when they sing together, you know, 1 + 1 = 3. It becomes something even bigger, you know? So, some of my favorite bands are bands like that. And I always wanted to be in a band like that. So I was, lucky enough to be in one myself. And, I don't feel like an imposter. It's just a little bit of a different animal, you know? I'm out of my comfort zone, and that's a good place to be. And you know, I've written some good songs that way, and some of the live moments when we're going to start touring here in a couple of days, and you know, after a few rounds of getting your crap together, you know, standing up there and completing a really challenging piece of music and having people react to it, that's the payoff. That's you know, so I'm going to get there, and that feels pretty authentic to me. So,
and you know, with that, you know, up there with solo music, obviously with the work with Alice, you played the songs, you got the hits and everything. Does it hit different when it's something, you know, solo? Is that a different feeling? Is it still the same way as, you know, when you're playing Man in the Box, as opposed to maybe, you know, a new song for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a writer for a long time, and I've been lucky enough to write a lot of songs in Alice. And so, when I'm out doing a show on my own, I wanna highlight some of those moments that and some of the material that I wrote with Alice. And so,
Yeah.
I think to me, it's always exciting to see artists do that, take it into a different venue, a different group. And, you can always come see us play those songs too. So, and anytime, anytime we hit one of those tunes, I don't see anybody going to take a whiz or get a beer. Everybody's really feeling it. So, that's really the proof in the pudding right there.
Right.
And I think people get that,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people get that. So it's a pretty natural part of music. It's being in a band is a really tough thing, and we've done we've stood the ups, we've stood the downs. We're going into our 4th decade here as a band, and we're still together. That's a pretty rare thing,
Absolutely.
But it's also pretty common for musicians to step out of their band that they're known for and do work outside of that and create some exciting moments and play their music in different forms and venues. So
Yeah.
the cool thing about writing a song is that people connected to is that thing's out there, man. It's alive. You can you take that thing out of the box and no pun intended, and play it for people. They react to it.
Right.
That's really why I do this. It's why we all do it.
Well, at this point, there's very few that do it as well as you on all aspects of it, and we see that now with the latest album, I Want Blood. We've got a few more questions here. I know I'm chatting your ear off, but not every day you get to talk with one of the guys on the Mount Rushmore of the rock world. So,
thank you.
Yeah, any surprises on this record? Maybe if a listener puts that CD in and cranks it up, they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't expect that from Jerry." Is there anything like that would catch people's attention?
Yeah, we're just wrapping up the campaign. I don't know that everybody was aware that on the side D of the deluxe version, I did these little spoken word kind of vignettes of
cool.
the lyrics, and I also invited a lot of my creative partners, musicians that I made the last 2 records with or toured with. I had them make the music up for them, and had a really amazing talented artist out of the UK, Boy Tillikens, do these little animated vignettes and stuff. So there's a whole spoken word side to this record, and some really great animation to go along with them too, to kind of take a look at the lyrical aspect of the song in a different way than I've ever done before. I've never done anything like that before, and it was a kind of a fun little project to do.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, there you guys, you heard it first. A nice surprise on there for you. And do you have a favorite track or a track that maybe stands out to you on this record, Jerry?
It depends on the day, I've been listening to it pretty heavily for the last 4 days because we've been rehearsing it, and I've had to refer, like, what the hell was I doing there? But it depends on the day, Vilify It is I always thought that the album should start with that song, and the legs that thing had at radio these days, when things are so quick and disposable. It's amazing that thing had the legs that it did. And I think Afterglow's another really amazing song. That's the next single that we're beginning the campaign on this year. Obviously the title track, I Want Blood, it's just got a ferocity to it with McKagan on bass and Borden on drums and me, and the closer, It Comes, is also kind of a special song as well.
Yeah. Well, again, it's out now. I Want Blood. Go get it. Jerry Cantrell's 4th solo works, and then you're hitting the road, doing your thing on stage that you know how to do. You've done so well for so many years. And also, you got a birthday coming up. Are you going to be touring on your birthday, or are you taking some time off for the birthday?
I think the tour's going to wrap right before my birthday.
Right for your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had a good birthday party for a while. I 2 years of COVID and 2 years of touring, so I haven't been home to have a good shindig. So hopefully I'll have a good one this year.
Have a good one this year. Relax a little bit. I bring that up because I do have a follow-up question, and you are one away from the big 6-0. Again, I am. It's crazy, and here you are still.
I got
kicking.
one more year to go, man.
One more year.
1 year and 2 months to go.
The big 6-0. So I'm going to ask this very James Lipton Masterpiece Theater-esque question. How does Jerry Cantrell feel about his music at almost 60? Almost 60.
Oh man, it's been an honor to be able to kind of create my own space with my bros and write some music that has meant the world to us and connected to so many people. And I get daily reminders of that everywhere I go, and it's a pretty special thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jerry, that's what happens when you want to become legendary. You hang your balls out there, and that's what you did, my friend.
And you hang out your balls out there, man. Yeah. Listen to Jesus of Copy Man.
You listen to the Jesus of Copy Man.
He knows it all.
Khakis and tucked in shirt. I love it. All right. Well, now that we got we got the important stuff out of the way, I'm going to do rapid fire. I do this with everybody, and then I'll get you on your way. So no wrong answers. You just go with your gut. I did make a couple ones just specific for you. So let's get those done, and then we'll get into the main ones. So
all right, I'm not good at pop quizzes, but go ahead.
You'll be all right. What was more nerve-wracking? Being high school choir president and singing the national anthem with the quartet at the home basketball game, or opening night at the 91 Clash of the Titans tour?
Oh, probably Clash of the Titans.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd say Clash of the Titans. Yeah. We were a young band. I mean, we were not intimidated or scared at all, but we also knew, like, hey, we do not fit here. And nobody knows who we are. They all know these guys pretty well.
Yeah.
And but luckily the bands were really cool to us, and somewhere about halfway through that tour was when Man in the Box actually hit and radio and MTV and heavy rotation, and then everything changed.
That was
okay.
it. So,
but then we the first half of that tour, we spent a lot of time dodging objects thrown at us. Yeah.
I mean, I thought for sure the nerve-wracking high school choir singing would get you, but I guess the Clash of the Titans would be pretty nerve-wracking too. So
performing in general, I would say that's equally terrifying too, especially for a young person. But part of the appeal of this job is tackling something you're afraid of doing. You know what I mean? It's like public speaking. I hate it too, man. But the only way you get good at it is by doing it and going up there and bombing a few, and figuring it out.
Dodging a few beer bottles. I got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Here's another
boys band. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Here's another Jerry Cantrell specific 90s fashion staple: flannel around the waist or ripped up jeans.
I think the staple has got to be the combat boot, man.
I didn't even think of that one.
It's got to be the combat boot. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you're right.
I'm gonna go none of the above. I'm gonna go combat boot.
You're going rogue on me, Jerry, with the combat boots. But you know what? I can't argue with you. It's you. You know. All right, let's get into some other ones. New England clam chowder or creamy tomato bisque?
Oh, clam chowder, man. Yes.
Nice.
Definitely. Crush up a couple of saltines in that thing. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Some oyster crackers. You got to figure it out, man. That sounds
good. There you go.
On a rainy Seattle day, can't beat it. Disco or techno?
I'd go disco. Disco is basically R&B, and I'm a big R&B and soul fan. So I liked a lot of the stuff in the disco era. The Bee Gees, I think, are one of their most amazing bands of all time.
Oh, so good. And I could see you in some polyester too. I think you could pull it off.
Come on, man. Yeah, I don't really have a hairy chest for my
gold
medallion. But I can still rock the medallion and the polyester suit.
There you go. Yeah. I love it. Maybe for the next tour. All right, Bigfoot or Loch Ness? Who would you rather see?
I think Bigfoot, man. Yeah. Loch Ness be kind of tougher to see. like we kind of live in one of the areas where he's supposed to hang out up in the Great Northwest. So
That's what I was going to
seen him
say.
yet.
No, you haven't.
Haven't seen him yet.
Man.
Haven't seen him yet, but I'd go for Bigfoot, man. Probably hang out with that dude. Yeah.
He has a great hairy chest for that medallion. I tell you what, he would look good.
He does.
All right, last one. 100% power Chuck Norris roundhouse or a 50% power Mike Tyson punch. Which one are you taking?
Oh God, we'll probably be destroyed by both. I think I'd take Chuck Norris. Yeah, I think Mike Tyson in his prime. That whole thing of like his technique and the thought in his mind was, "I'm going to kill you." That was real.
Right. Chuck at least would be a more honorable death. Yeah. Exactly. I think so.
Yeah, Chuck might take it a little easy on you. I don't know if Mike Tyson would.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for humoring me. More importantly, Jerry, thank you for taking the time to talk new music. I Want Blood from Jerry Cantrell. It's out now. He's hitting the road. And you're a legend. You're a living legend. And it really was an honor talking to you, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Brock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.